guys? Welcome back to another video. On this one, as I promised on the last one, this is Kevin's FZ-09. We're going to get into an in-depth review of this thing after his 5-year ownership of it. Let's go! So Kevin's owned this motorcycle for about 5 years. It is a 2017 FZ-09. This is the weird year between the MT and the FZ, so it got the look of the new MT, but called still an FZ-09. His current mods involve frame sliders, idiots. Anyway, so his mods involve frame sliders, a fender eliminator, he has a Two Brothers exhaust on it, and he has a V-cycle nut tune. And let me tell you, this thing is loud. In a good way. Let me just listen to it. This thing definitely annoys a lot of people. It's so loud. So as you can see on here, he almost has 30,000 miles on this thing. It's at 29,180 as of right now. In that almost 30,000 miles, he has had nothing but oil changes and tire changes. That's it. This thing has been super reliable for him. I'm gonna go through the top things that I love about this, and then we'll get into a couple of things that are definitely on the bad list. Some of the stuff on the bad list Kevin did provide me with, because obviously he has the experience and I don't. We'll start with the good things. The one be-all end-all that every single review of this motorcycle will tell you is this engine is fantastic. What are people doing today? Now, the newer ones, I believe, have closer to a 900cc engine, but this one, even though it's an FZ-09, is an 847cc triple. The inline triple sound, there's just nothing like it. It sounds just amazing. The engine is definitely the main reason for buying this motorcycle. At this price point especially. A triple that has this much character and a bike that you can pick up, I mean, the first gens are going for what, 4 grand? Something like that? The sound. I know it's kind of related to the engine, but like, oh my gosh. The sounds, it's so good. Especially with this Two Brothers exhaust. My goodness, does it sound amazing. We'll do a pull real quick so you guys can listen. Another one is definitely the torque of this engine. And again, I know these are also related to the engine as a whole, but I have to mention the torque is awesome. Any RPM that you, well, granted, if you're in a higher gear, it's an 847, it's a lower cc bike, so you're not gonna be able to have the torque. Thanks. The wheelie threw me off because I popped it into neutral instead of shifting. There's another great perk of this. The wheeling is super, super easy. This bike wheelies like crazy. It's a mix of the wheelbase and the way the power comes in. This is coming from a Street Fighter V4 owner's perspective, but I really like how you can ream this thing out and you're really not doing that crazy of a speed. I know people say that about smaller bikes, but this one actually makes a good mid-range power to the point where you don't really feel like you're needing more. It satisfies your need for power. It gives you just enough to have fun with and not enough to do, you know, 170 miles an hour or whatever like you can on the Street Fighter. I believe this one we've had 140, 145-ish. That's pretty much where they top out. If you can get faster, it's normally downhill or something. And to be honest, it's subjective, but another good thing would be the looks. It looks kind of like an Angry Wasp. I know, I mean, so does mine technically, but I like this look a lot more than the first generation with the single headlight. Now that moves us straight into the cons of this, one of which is the headlight. So the first generation didn't have any issue with the headlight being bright enough at night, being able to light up whatever you need to see on the road. Kevin has told me many times, and I've experienced it a couple of times at night with this, the headlights just are not very good. They cut off super low. I would assume you can adjust them, but it's still to a point where you're not going to see too much. It's very slim. Another would be, and I know I just praised it, but the power. It has a ton of power, up to about, I don't know, I'd say 80 miles an hour. A lot of low end torque, a lot of fun stuff, which makes it a perfect around town bike. But if you're on the highway, it really doesn't hold its own, just based on its gearing, the way the power comes in. I feel like anything over 9 grand is kind of a waste. I mean, again, I'll have to look at the dyno graph, but you can kind of feel it once you get up to that RPM range. It's not really pulling much. It's worth it just to shift, but I mean, come on. The noise is what's worth absolutely listening to at that point. So I don't even care, it doesn't make power. Another bad spot would be the suspension. It's very bouncy and very, very difficult mid-corner to control. It has a lot of flickability, which is really nice. That's another perk of it. However, when you get into a corner, you flick in, it's real good, and then when you mid-corner, it does not want to stay. It likes to wander on you a lot. So that part of it can make it very difficult to predict. Another con would be the brake feel. The brake feel on this is very, very numb. I know I'm kind of spoiled with the, I think they call them the Stelema calipers, the Brembos on my Street Fighter. But these ones are very, very bad for feel. Now, I think they do a decent enough job at actually stopping and being able to hold their own with slowing down the bike. However, it's just not the same. I will give it though, I think there's something wrong with my Street Fighter's rear brake, because this one feels better. There's like actual feel to it. My Street Fighter's feels like it needs bled or something, so I don't know what's going on there. But by and large, the brake feel is not so great on this. Another great thing, the gas mileage. Kevin says whether he's reaming it out or just cruising, 40 miles per gallon is pretty much all he gets. He can get more, obviously, if he's cruising, but he definitely doesn't get less. He says even reaming it out, maybe high 30s, maybe. I mean, just listen to it. The pops, oh my gosh, it sounds so good. Okay, another con, and this is again coming from a spoiled Ducati owner. The quick shifter, it's very slow. You have to kind of give it time between, like my Street Fighter, you can just bang, 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 you can bang it off real quick. This one, you have to kind of give it a sec. It does like a little fart in between shifts. Ready? I think it sounds really cool, but it does have a little bit of a delay. Does the new one have it? I think the new one has a blipper. You'll have to correct me on it if I'm wrong. Just a really fun bike. A big perk of it, the seating position on it is awesome. You feel like you're on a dirt bike. It's so upright, it's so comfy. He has the comfort seat on this one. That's a big perk for getting the second gen, apparently, is that it's comfier. But he also put a first gen seat on this, but it's the comfort seat, so I think it does make a difference. It is just like the ultimate hoon bike with such a unique engine. What a great bike. If anybody's in the market for it, he is selling it. As I said in my first video, he's getting an Aprilia Tuono V4. And, I mean, can you blame him? This bike's amazing, but that bike is going to be next level. But he has this on the market right now for $6,500 bucks. If anybody's in the Pennsylvania area looking for an FZ-09, he's your guy. Another thing Kevin mentioned was the rear ABS kicks on super early. So for some reason, even when it's not really, at least not that he thinks it's sliding, it starts to kick in and it'll jitter your right foot. So that could get annoying after a while. Really though, like, oh my gosh, it's such just a comfy, enjoyable bike to ride. Gets good gas mileage, sounds amazing, reliable. Do I think it would make a good first bike? Probably not, just because of the engine, and the traction control is pretty brutal, so I think that could be another con. It's not a progressive traction control where it slightly lays off the throttle to kind of bring your wheelie down. It aggressively cuts the throttle, so it can like whip you back down if you're not ready for it, or if you're just not prepared to ride something that can wheelie this easily. It can be a handful. I'm not going to say it's anything crazy though, because I mean, full throttle, it's not that bad. Whee! But overall, I love this thing. I love that he's had it for so long. He can give me such an in-depth review of it. I would highly recommend this to anybody looking to, maybe as a second bike. Maybe you had your first one, you had a CB300, or you had a Ninja 400, or you had Ninja 650 or some sort of naked bike that doesn't necessarily have the power characteristics of this. Again, the seating position's really weird to me, so don't judge my body position, because it is like a dirt bike. Like, I just feel very weird trying to position my body. All my previous bikes were not... Whee! All my previous bikes were not like this. My previous ones all had some sort of forward body position on them. Has a ton of character. That's the reason he kept it for so long. The engine is just so lively and so full of character. Yes, it has its weak points, the suspension, the brakes, basically the stuff that when you graduate and want to go to that next level, that, you know, that Ducati, the Aprilia, anything in that next realm with the nice Brembos, then you can do that. But this one has a very, very good medium of cost effectiveness and fun. Actually, I think it's the perfect medium. This and the MT-07, I think, are some of my favorite motorcycles under 10 grand, just based on how much fun you can have with them. And I'm sorry I can't give you guys a daily 150 on this. There's just no way that would happen. I'll give you a daily whatever I can do. We'll cut to that right now. You guys have to excuse my my top speed there. I'm a 250-pound guy, so this thing doesn't have too much when you stretch its legs. So that's all you're gonna get for this video. I apologize. But at least you get to listen to it, right? That's kind of the best part. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the sound of Kevin's FZ-09 as much as I did, and enjoyed me reviewing my rendition of what I like and what I don't like about this bike. We'll catch you guys on the next one.